Hello, I'm Barbara Sills Nevergold, co-founder of the Uncrowned Queens Institute. Welcome to They've Got Stories to Tell, Conversations with Uncrowned Community Builders. This program brings you the inspiring and sometimes little-known stories of the women and men who have made or are making a difference in our community through their contributions and accomplishments in the arts, business, healthcare, education, politics, media, advocacy, and so much more. Each week, we have the pleasure of talking to another person of accomplishment and contribution. Accomplishment because of all they have done in thought, word, and deed, and contribution because of all they've given back to the community. An uncrowned community builder because we have not properly recognized, celebrated, and commended these individuals for a life that exemplifies the unspoken gifts they represent. It's been my pleasure to work with today's guest for the last 2 years. As the Central District member of the Buffalo Board of Education, she has been a committed and diligent representative for the children and the families in her district. She is a passionate and tireless advocate who brings considerable knowledge and experience to her position as she addresses major issues that impact the quality of our educational system. In addition, she wears a number of other hats in her work in this community, and today we'll talk about some of them. So I want to say right now, welcome to Ms. Paulette Woods.
Thank you.
Thank you
Dr. Nevergo.
Well, thank you for agreeing to be to join me in this conversation. And as I said at the beginning of the program, you wear a lot of hats, and we're going to see some of these hats today. But you know, we're going to start off because very often, you know, our audience needs to know a little bit about the background of the individuals in the community that we call community builders. And I know that family, for all of us, is very important. And you have a story about family and how your family has molded and helped to mold you as the person you are today.
Yes, I come from a very large family. I have 14 brothers and sisters.
Oh, my word.
And my father worked 2 jobs. You know, he worked 9 shifts a week, double shifts every day to feed his large family. A lesser man might have ran away from such a heavy burden. And my mom, I don't know how she did it. Today, people can't even raise 1 child. But she raised 14 of us. She took us to church. She instilled in us work values, family values, and they emphasized education. My daddy said, if you don't want to be picking string beans and strawberries like we were in Angola, and that's how we paid our taxes, then you need to get a good education because that's the only way out of poverty.
Yeah. Well, I know as a member of 9 in the family that we were kind of stair steps, and so the younger kids were sometimes parented by the older kids, and there were special relationships with brothers. I had 7 brothers and a sister, so my brothers, you know, kind of nurtured me, and certainly the older ones nurtured me, and then I took care of the younger ones, and I'm sure it was the same in your family.
Well, I'm the 3rd oldest, so I have 11 younger brothers and sisters, which, yes, I tutored, I helped raise. My mom would go shopping, and she'd take my older 2 sisters with her to help out. So I basically was the second mother figure in the home. And even to today, you know, my brothers and sisters come to me, big sister, how do I do this? Can you help me? I tutored them all through high school, college, and several of them have master's degrees. So education is something I've been doing all of my life.
Right, I know.
And then when they had children, I have 26 nieces and nephews who I helped to get through the Buffalo school system. So I have a lot of experience with the Buffalo school system.
Okay, we're going to get into that as we go along. But you mentioned that you were born in Angola. So your early educational career was spent in the Angola schools?
Well, actually, I was born in Louisville, Kentucky. My family is Southern roots. they moved to Lackawanna. So I'm from the city of Lack and Want. But I was an accelerated.
I've never heard that before, Paulette. I have to tell you that.
Yeah, it's a steel plant. So I was in accelerated classes, and when we moved to Angola, I was in 9th grade, and I completed my education as a National Merit Scholar in the Angola school system. So what I got to see is that the suburban school systems have high expectations. They teach you to be a leader. And in one of the classes, they had covered an entire half a book more in Latin than we had covered in Lackawanna. So I had to cover half of a book by myself. But they teach you to be a leader.
Okay. So then the movement to Buffalo, how did that take place?
Oh, well, I came to Buffalo because one of my sisters, she was going to nursing school and she got pregnant. And my mom said that's against family values, and she wouldn't let her come back home. So I was at college in Fredonia State, where I had a double major, and she wrote me this tear-stained letter. Can her baby have at least one relative? And I said, we got a big family, what do you mean? So I transferred from Fredonia State to Canisius College to finish my degree here to help my sister raise her son, who is now a Buffalo police officer, and we're very close.
Oh, wonderful. Well, you know, as I said, family is so important, and so very often when people look at the African American family, there's a stereotype that, you know, our fathers aren't home with the children, that, you know, it's all single mothers. And so, you know, part of what we illustrate, you and me, is that we do have nuclear families, intact families, and they have helped to establish, I guess, the foundation for us and the examples for us, you know, as we grew into adulthood.
Well, my father is a World War II vet. He's my hero. And he is always there. He is babysitting his great-grands. He drives in from Angola, checks on all his family. We eat dinner together every Sunday, him and my sisters, and we rotate. And he was military, and he has those values of, you know, we're all brothers on the battlefield. He doesn't believe in any racism, where, you know, a bullet knows no color, race, rich or poor, or creed. He believes in hard work, education, and excellence. And like I said, he's my hero.
And you've talked about your dad, and I had the pleasure of meeting your dad. You said he's a World War II veteran.
Yes.
But he is in his 90s, is that correct?
95 years old, and we just went back to Australia, where he served in World War II, and they gave him a hero's welcome, because little did I know, when the U.S. Consulate General, the highest ranking American there, greeted us and treated him like a hero. I'm like, what did you do, Dad? And she said, Australia would have been conquered by the Japanese, except because the American soldiers saved us. Britain was too tied up to defend Australia. And he also went and liberated the Philippines in an amphibious landing. A lot of the stories about the Pacific Theater, where 26,000 men died, Americans died, it's not well known. I've got to videotape some of this stuff.
And I don't mean to cut you off, but we do have to take a little break here. We're going to take a break. When we come back with Paulette Woods, we're going to talk a little bit more about the military, not only about her dad, but about her service too.
Oh,
so
Lord.
Stay tuned.
Along with weight loss, it's one of the many ways to fight osteoarthritis pain. For more information on managing pain, go to Fight Arthritis Pain.
Hi, I'm Barbara Sills Nevergold, and this is They've Got Stories to Tell, Conversations with Uncrowned Community Builders. If you're just joining us today, we're having a great conversation with Paulette Woods, who is the Central District Buffalo Board of Education member. We're going to get back to that, but we talked about the number of hats, the various hats that Paulette wears, and so she's actually wearing one now, having to do with her military service. Thank you. And, you know, it's so appropriate today, being Flag Day, that we're taping this show, and the fact that you actually were involved with some of our students from the schools in honoring Flag Day. So tell us about that, and then we'll get back to your own service.
We just had a Flag Day service involving 3 of our schools, School 31, Harriet Tubman, School 17, and School 56. And we had 600 children marching down Main Street in red, white, and blue flag T-shirts. And we were escorted by police horses and the National Guard. And my unit, the Jesse Clipper American Legion unit, marched in the parade with them. The American Legion is, by law, Congress, service people who served active duty in a time of war. So on Flag Day, that flag means a lot to us. It means safety when you're deployed in a foreign land. When you see that flag, that means that's American soil, and you got a place of safety and protection.
And I'm sure that's the message you made sure that the kids heard today.
Yes.
And you know, as we concluded the first part of the show, we were talking about your father and his service, but you also, of course, are a veteran, and you indicate that you have a membership, Jesse Clipper Post, but you didn't say that you're the commander.
Yes, I am. I am the commander, and we're marching in the Juneteenth parade, and we were orchestrating other activities. But today I was just so pleased to be able to let these young people know, on behalf of the Board of Education, that they're the soldiers of the future. Mm-hmm. And they're the ones who have to have loyalty, devotion, and carry on the values and principles that make our country great. They are what will make our country the place that everybody in the world respects, admires, and wants to come to.
It's fantastic ideas and ideals that we want to, you know, make sure that our children understand, and I'm sure you delivered the message beautifully this morning. Talking about the Jesse Clipper Post, because, you know, it's named after, of course, the first African American from Buffalo to die in World War I. Recently, the Post also did something in terms of the Jesse Clipper statue, and the monument. I guess I shouldn't just call it a statue.
The mayor in the city of Buffalo spent $4 million renovating William Street, and they did entirely redesigned Jesse Clipper Park. And they used a design that was made by an African-American architect. So we have now beautiful stone circles, new flagpole, granite monument. Oh, it is just an absolute joy to go down to see a real monument honoring Jesse Clipper and honoring the services of African Americans who've served in every war since the Civil War. And so it honors not only World War I, II, Vietnam, Korea, the Iraqi vets, Afghanistan vets. It honors all of us. And we were so proud to have a ribbon cutting ceremony. So many people and elected officials came. I was honored to be able to put that on.
And I hope that, and you and I have to work on it, that our children get to see this new monument. You said all of the wars that African Americans have served in, every single conflict or war that this country has been involved in, African Americans have been involved in it. And to have a monument, you know, that recognizes not just Jesse Clipper, because it speaks to all of the African American men who've been veterans, your dad, and women. I shouldn't forget women.
Yes, women are increasingly playing significant roles. But you know, that brings the point that it is very important that African infusion the contributions of African Americans are taught in our schools, and that our school children come and see the African American corridor, because they need to know they built this country. They need to know that African Americans invented so many things, blood plasma. We were the ones doing the back-breaking labor, so we had to invent the cotton gin, so we didn't have to bend and break our backs. America was built by a diversity of people, but significant contributions were made by African Americans. Our only music comes, soul, jazz, gospel, comes from African Americans. We need all of American citizens to know our history so that we can have mutual respect for one another.
Wonderful. Now, does the Post have any activities planned coming up? I know you said that you're going to be marching Juneteenth, which actually is going to be this weekend, which I think the show will air after that. But
on September 22nd, we will be having our annual fundraising dinner at Laricelli's restaurant in Lackawanna, and we are selling tickets for that. That's our one fundraiser, and we usually have a military speaker, and we give out awards, and we just let all the veterans, the Vietnam vets, and all of our veterans come together.
And I just want you to tell us about the commander position. I don't know if you're the first female commander of the Post. I know that you have broken ground in many ways in terms of your military service, but what about your position as commander of the Post?
Well, no, Deborah Ransom was, I believe, the first female commander of our post, but unfortunately she did not serve active duty during a time of war. So I am the next commander, female commander, and we are honored that we have this year a post commander that's female, county commander that's female, New York State commander that's female of the American Legion, and the national female president. So women are making great strides.
Fantastic.
But as far as first, I was the first African American to be in the budget office in Erie County, which I just retired from 36 years. And that's one of the things they gave me an award for, because a proclamation, because I served 36 years in Erie County, and for 13 years I put together the entire county budget. And then I went to managing 3 different departments and providing youth services, detention services, special delinquency prevention services for our youth, and running a detention facility and helping design and build it. And then I retired with 14 years in probation. And that service is so important because our young people get in trouble. And we had 3,400 young people that probation was trying to keep out of going to prison, keeping them out of the juvenile justice system. So that was the reason I ran for school board, because I wanted to find out where all these children, why weren't they in school? What was throwing these children in this river where they were drowning and winding up in criminal justice?
Okay, we're gonna on that note, we're gonna hold that point, because now you see why I said she wears so many hats. We're gonna come back and talk to Paulette Woods about her service on the Buffalo Board of Education. So please stay tuned.
Save a place for me, save a space for me in your heart, in your heart.
Every year, the United Negro College Fund helps thousands of students go to college. But for everyone we help, there's one we can't. Please support the United Negro College Fund. A mind is a terrible thing to waste.
Welcome back to They've Got Stories to Tell, Conversations with Uncrowned Community Builders. I'm Barbara Seals Nevergold, and today my guest is Paulette Woods. And we've been having a conversation about the many, many activities, and I won't say just activities because it's, engagement, involvement. We call people uncrowned community builders because they haven't necessarily been recognized for their activities, and they have been engaged in so many activities that benefit our community and the people in our community. So I talked about the hats you wear and you continue to wear, even though you retired from, the county. You wear the hat of an elder in your church.
Yes.
And so tell us about this, because your faith is so foundational to who you are.
Well, it is so important to know that the chaos we see around us isn't the end all and be all, that there is a Heavenly Father, a plan, and that no matter what's going on, you have someone that loves you and is there for you, and that each person is special, unique, and worthy of love, and that our Creator gives us that. That foundation, I've been in church all my life. My mother raised me in church. I spent 30 years at Prince of Peace Church of God in Christ under Bishop Leroy Anderson, who was a ruling prelate in the Church of God in Christ. And I was there, I was on the trustee board, licensed missionary, in the choir, love to sing, and head of the Christian Women Council. But I moved on to fellowship world, where I am now an ordained elder and acting assistant pastor to my pastor, who just got ordained regional bishop under the Kingdom Christian Ministries Fellowships out of Rochester. So we're busy. And
Yes.
I work in the garden. I figure if my house, I'm a homeowner, if my house is going to be beautiful and I'm going to be in the garden walk with an acre of flowers, then God's house should be beautiful. So you'll find me on Humboldt and Utica digging in the garden and putting beautiful flowers in front of my church.
Well, I tell you, the message to the viewers just now, because as you said, there is so much chaos that we are experiencing today in the world, and to deliver that message, to be calm, that God is in charge, and we can rely on Him not making a decision, or not putting us in a situation that we cannot ultimately handle, because He's got us.
Yes, He'll never leave us alone.
But I said during the break, we probably need another show, as we talked about, the things we've done, because you've been engaged and involved in the political world as well.
Yes, I'm on the Erie County Executive Committee of the Erie County Democratic Party, and I was proud to help fight to make sure we got Jim McLeod endorsed as a judge, because when you go down to city court, you need someone who understands what your children are facing, and our leaders need to understand and represent the entire community. And as a Board of Education member, we are elected officials.
That's right.
And there's this issue that came up about moving the elections to November, in the middle of politics, money, people, PACs. We got an election won by money and corporations, and now we have a president who does not give us a good image. Our children, their education is too important. The Board of Education is nonpartisan, and we do not need our elections moved to November to be in the middle of politics.
I'd say
We need
amen.
to keep it in May.
I'd say amen to that. Now, tell me, how do you fit in? Because we know how much time we devote to our role as a school board member. And
30, 40 hours a week.
Right. And fitting it in, I mean, we have meetings sometimes that go on until 10 o'clock at night that start at 5 o'clock.
Like yesterday.
Recently, yes. and yet today you got up and you went to a 1 mile or so or more march with 300 youngsters from elementary school youngsters.
600 youngsters.
Oh, 600.
600.
Oh, it's 600
Wonderful
youngsters.
children.
So fitting in the board work, really takes commitment. And I know that there are a number of goals that you have set for what you want to accomplish as a Central District Board member.
Well, it's like themes in your life. I've been a civil rights advocate all my life. I've been in the BUILD organization, Rainbow Coalition, trying to make the society a better place, a more equitable place, a fair place for the African American community. And the board work is an extension of that. We're fighting for our children to get a good education so they can be productive citizens. We're fighting for equity in education so that all of our children go to excellent schools and come out, as the new bargain says, employable with a skill, a job ready, so they don't come to detention. We are breaking that school to prison pipeline. And also, all of us pay taxes. So when I look at our workforce, and there's 86% non-African American, white suburbanite teachers, but the students are 80% black and brown, and all the studies show children learn from people who look like them. They relate to a diversity in their workforce, and they need to see people who look like them in that educational setting. So I'm fighting to get diversity in the workforce. And I'm fighting for MBE with board passing MBE, WBE policy. We have $1 billion budget. Some of those contracts need to include women and minority businesses so that we will have an economic development base in the African American community.
And again, an issue of equity. So you touched on the elections of board members, and right now there's a push to move those from May to November, which, and I agree with you, is going to make
a terrible
the whole process
idea.
more partisan. But, and I want to make this, and I hope you'll make this point to the audience. We only have a minute or so left. That in May of 2019, which is less than a year now, every single seat will be up for re-election, and it's imperative that our community understand that.
Yes, our community is known for not coming out and having a good turnout for elections, but this is your child's future. We have board members now who are fighting to have better schools, to give your children careers. We have 10 innovative high schools. We are trying to make Buffalo school system the best, equal to the suburban school system. I'm a Lakeshore Central graduate, equal to the Catholic schools. I was on the board of Mount St. Mary Academy. We deserve excellence for our children, and that's what we're fighting for.
Okay.
And you need to reelect us.
Thank you. So, you got the marching orders. This has been They've Got Stories to Tell: Conversations with Uncrowned Community Builders, a program of the Uncrowned Queens Institute. We invite and encourage you to visit our website, www.uncrownedcommunitybuilders.com, to learn more about the lives and contributions of the uncrowned kings and queens we are spotlighting in this program. You can also watch this program on the UCB YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/uncrownedqueens. Thanks for joining us today. We hope you'll join us next week for another edition of They've Got Stories to Tell.
Thank you
Conversations
so much
with Uncrowned Community Builders. Thank you
for inviting me.
Yeah.